Hi everyone, thank you for joining us on our Friday TNT. Thought I'd come outside today, just enjoy a little bit of sunshine. It's streaming into the Sala in this little community that I live in. Lovely little lake behind, nice and tranquil after a very busy day in Thai politics. Of course, we'll be getting into that in just a moment. Just also wanted to, first, apologise. I haven't even had a shave today. Just been in a bit of a rush. Didn't get a lot of sleep last night. And I also wanted to say that in lieu of doing a live program tomorrow morning like we usually do on Saturday mornings, to give people in other time zones an opportunity to join in, we're going to be doing a live show tonight instead at 8 p.m. So Thai time, 8 p.m, we'll be online to spend an hour with you. And you can ask anything, you can make any comments. Obviously, there's been plenty to talk about this week. So an opportunity for everybody. There's no memberships or anything. Anybody can join in, and we can go through the week's activities and see if we can sort of make heads or tails of it. So it is Friday, that's tonight, Thai time at 8 p.m. Well, let's try and unravel what happened yesterday. And of course, there was a vote in the Thai Parliament for a new Thai Prime Minister. Let's check out the vote. And this from Thai PBS World. And Pita loses in first joint sitting vote for the Prime Minister. And we can see the way the votes fell. He got 311 votes from the MPs, given that there are 312 MPs as part of that coalition. And I believe one was missing yesterday, so all of them voted in favour. And 148 MPs voted no. So they basically won the lower house easily. The problem is the Senate. And in the Senate, 13 senators said yes, but 34 said no. And down the bottom there, this is the really worrying part, there is 199 abstaining. My thought about politicians is if they're going to be paid, if they're going to be voted in to take the role of running the country, the very least they can do is put their hand up. An abstention means they may as well not even be there. And that indeed was the case yesterday, with many senators not even turning up for the vote. So I think this is turning out to be somewhat of a farce. Well, let's check the Bangkok Post and see the way they're reporting. It says, Pita, I'm not giving up. I accept it, but I'm not giving up, was Pita Limjaroenrat's first reaction after he failed to win a majority vote from Parliament for his premiership on Thursday evening. They started voting at around about 4 p.m. yesterday, and there was a point where it was mathematically impossible for him to win. The Move Forward Party leader received 324 votes in his favour, 182 votes against and 199 abstentions. And the result left him 51 votes short of his target. After the vote result was announced, Mr. Pita told reporters that there were a lot of pressures on senators because many of them were absent from the joint sitting of representatives and senators. There were pressures and several incentives, he said, without elaborating. They were not allowed to vote in line with the people. More than 30 senators were absent from the meeting. Some had gone abroad and others left the chamber. And Mr. Pita said, I thank the 13 senators who voted in favour. I will find the reasons why many of them were absent. And the parliamentary president has scheduled the second and third rounds of voting on July the 19th and 20th. So back to the start, and they'll be coming in again for votes on the 19th and the 20th of July. And at this stage, we don't even know if Mr. Pita's name will be put up as a candidate. Maybe the joint sitting will try a different tack to find a Prime Minister. And of course, this is the way that the former Prime Minister, Prayut Chan-o-cha, and the junta has arranged everything to make it almost impossible for progressive parties to win in Parliament. Some commentators have suggested that if the party decided to compromise and drop plans to change the law from its policy pledge, Mr. Pita might be able to win a majority in the next round of voting. And that, of course, refers to the Move Forward Party's amendments to the Les Majestés law that they ran on in the lead up to the election. I mean, it's been no surprise to anybody that that's been exactly what they've stood for. And at the end of the day, that's one of the reasons that people voted for them in such numbers. So for Pita to then turn around and say, oh, well, it's politically expedient to drop that and see if I can get the numbers, I don't think that that would reflect well on him, either now or in the future. And asked if he was prepared to be in the opposition if things don't go his way, Mr. Pita said he was focusing now on preparing for the second round of the prime ministerial vote. Of course, you've got to wonder what he can do between now and the 19th of July to try and woo some of those senators. I would say it's probably a pretty tough job. Let's move on to other coverage. And Thai PBS World says Pita accepts the vote result but is not giving up. The Move Forward Party leader Pita Limjaroenrat says he's not giving up hope of becoming Thailand's next Prime Minister, despite his bid for the top executive post failing in today's joint parliamentary sitting. And down the bottom there, Pita insisted he will not budge on the issue of Article 112, adding it's a promise we've made to the people and we cannot backtrack. Heaven forbid a parliamentarian with a bit of dignity and conviction these days. Let's check the way Nation Thailand covered this story. And when asked about his stance on Article 112, which was the main argument advanced by many parties, including Phumjai Thai, and senators to not support his candidature, he said that he would continue to support amending the law, as that's what he had promised the people. He also thanked the 13 senators who had voted for him. And from the Straits Times, which of course comes out of Singapore, Thai monarchy becomes focus of premiership debate. And Thailand's monarchy, usually off limits during parliamentary debates, became the centrepiece of discussion on a day when the legislature was meant to choose the future Prime Minister. And so it was that the premiership bid by 42-year-old Pita Limjaroenrat floundered yesterday, having fallen 51 votes short of the 375 vote minimum to secure his place. The rest of that article is behind a paywall. Now, the 375 votes, the reason it's not 376 anymore is because the night before the vote yesterday, one of the senators resigned. So it brought the majority down, well, one. And we go to Coconuts, Bangkok, which is part of coconuts.co. Pita falls short in Parliament as mass abstentions muddy the vote. And I think the mass abstentions really is the story from yesterday. And Thailand does not have a new Prime Minister after the Move Forward Party leader Pita Limjaroenrat failed to secure enough support from lawmakers in a vote that saw more abstain than go on the record. Notably, 198 lawmakers abstained from voting in a politically explosive moment that will have consequences for weeks to come as Thailand's future hangs in the balance. And then that article finishes, security forces deployed riot police and water cannons in advance of today's vote, that's yesterday's vote, in case of mass protests following the outcome. Well, there weren't mass protests, and I think there will probably be a period of calm until this is resolved one way or another, and we're still basically in a situation where we don't have a new cabinet, we don't have a new prime minister, the caretaker prime minister, I suppose, and the former cabinet is still keeping the wheels of Thailand in motion. But even in the best circumstances for Pita Limjaroenrat, I can't see him being able to convince enough senators, some 50 or so senators, to change their vote, given that there's always this excuse to abstain. Now, just speaking about that, it seems to me that this abstention is probably a very Thai way of getting around things in a parliamentary sitting when there's such a contentious thing to decide. I mean, Thai people don't like confrontation. They don't like saying no. So saying no, putting your hand up, is a way of the person you're saying no to lose face. And so all these cultural things come into play in such a situation. So I think the abstention is just a way to save face for themselves and the people who they were potentially going to vote against. Anyway, that's just my sort of analysis. Plenty of other news to come, but it looks like, well, today, Thailand doesn't have a new Prime Minister. It's our TNT program today, Friday, last day of the week, and an absolutely magnificent day. I was just checking the rain statistics, and we've had 50% less rain here in Phuket alone over the past 2 months than the average. A bit more about that later, but we'll go to the latest on this Hans Peter Mack story, the murder of the 62-year-old real estate agent in Pattaya over the weekend. And we've got the lawyers now involved, and a story that even I couldn't have made up. And this covered by the PattayaNews.com. Adam and his team have done a sterling job covering this particular case. And it says, lawyer's assistant to prime murder suspect claims Hans Peter Mack may have had a heart attack and suspect panicked. And according to Mr. Matthew, who is an interpreter and lawyer's assistant to Mr. Olaf Brinkmann, who is the prime suspect in the murder of the 62-year-old German, he said Mr. Olaf has continued to refuse to talk with police. After I talked with Olaf, however, I believe the whole situation might have been accidental. Really? Tell us more. No one intended to kill Mr. Hans. When a discussion between the two parties escalated and involved money and pressure to pay, Mr. Hans might have suffered from heart failure and had a sudden heart attack. At this point, the suspect panicked and did not know what to do, deciding to hide the body versus informing police due to being afraid of repercussions. However, we, that's lawyers and translators for Mr. Olaf Brinkmann, are still not sure of the exact sequence of events and do not know how much money was involved and what the money was for. Brilliant. How do you think that's going to stand up in a court of law? We go on. The translator said, Mr. Olaf also wants to meet with the other prime captured suspects and discuss the situation with them, especially around what he feels is possible incorrect information given to police by Mr. Shahrukh, the 27-year-old Pakistani Thai. And Shahrukh claimed, as we reported earlier, that's the PattayaNews.com, that Mr. Brinkmann threatened and forced him to assisting in disposing of the body of Mr. Mack. Now, the possibility of the Thai police allowing all those suspects to get together and have a little bit of a chat is zero. Not even close to zero, it's zero. And National Police Chief orders Chonburi Police to crack down on foreign criminals. The Thai National Police Chief ordered police officers in Chonburi to crack down on foreign criminals following the abduction and dismemberment of German real estate broker Hans Peter Mack. And the order requested that all officers put their best efforts into capturing criminals and intercepting illegal activities with a focus on foreigners. I'm sure that's something that foreigners living up there in Pattaya are happy to hear about today. And the crackdown comes after the successful capturing of all suspects involved in the murder of Hans Peter Mack. The suspects in this case were 2 Germans and 1 Pakistani Thai. And that story reported by the PattayaNews.com. Moving on to some other topics today. And from Thai PBS World, El Niño is threatening rice crops while grain supplies already are squeezed by the war in Ukraine. Plenty to unpack in that particular headline. Let's try and find the details. Warmer, drier weather because of an earlier than usual El Niño is expected to hamper rice production across Asia, hitting global food security in a world still reeling from the impacts of the war in Ukraine. El Niño is a natural, temporary and occasional warming of part of the Pacific that shifts global weather patterns, and climate change is making them stronger. So before all the climate denier gang get together and start warming up their fingers and tapping on the keyboard, we're talking about a natural phenomenon here of El Niño that's acknowledged and understood and is clearly affecting the situation, well, not just here in Asia, but around the world at the moment. The scientists say there is a 1 in 4 chance it will expand to supersized levels. The effects of El Niño are well known, but it can be a bigger or a smaller El Niño when it occurs. And the third paragraph, that's bad news for rice farmers, particularly in Asia, where 90% of the world's rice is grown and eaten, since a strong El Niño typically means less rainfall for the thirsty crop. And past El Niños have resulted in extreme weather ranging from droughts to floods. And speaking about rice, global stocks have run low since last year, in part due to the devastating floods in Pakistan, a major rice exporter. This year's El Niño may amplify other woes for rice-producing countries, such as reduced availability of fertiliser due to the war and some countries' export restrictions on rice. Myanmar, Cambodia and Nepal are particularly vulnerable, warned a recent report by research firm BMI. And Mamum, a research analyst at the International Food Policy Research Institute, said there is uncertainty over the horizon. And then recent global average temperatures have hit record highs. Monsoon rains over India will lighter than usual by the end of June. Indonesian President Joko Widodo on Monday asked his ministers to anticipate a long dry season. And in the Philippines, authorities are carefully managing water to protect vulnerable areas. Each El Niño is different, but historical trends suggest scarce rainfall in South and Southeast Asia will parch the soil, causing cascading effects in coming years. This according to a natural resources officer with the Food and Agricultural Organisation based in Bangkok. And some countries like Indonesia may be more vulnerable in the early stages of the phenomenon. And there's plenty more in that article published by Thai PBS World, and headlined El Niño is threatening rice crops. If you type that into your Google machine, I'm sure you'll be able to find it. Well, that's about it for today. Remembering that we're going to be doing our usual Saturday morning show tonight, Thai time. It's going to be at 8 p.m. and it's going to be live, a whole hour with me and you, and we're going to do this so that people in other parts of the world can join in, whereas when we do it at 9 a.m. on Saturday mornings, it precludes some people from being involved. So I look forward to, well, I suppose some different people in the chat tonight. Anybody can join in and everybody's welcome. I'll make sure I have a shave before doing it tonight. Have a great Friday. It's still going to be an interesting few days as we still don't have a Prime Minister in Thailand, and there's plenty more water to go under that bridge. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.